Is it time for Brad to get mad? Jimmy, we've seen angry Brad or mad Brad when he's upset with the referees, when he's fired up, when he's earning himself technical fouls. Yeah. But when are we going to see angry Brad or mad Brad when he's talking about his teammates or his team, I should say?
I'm begging for it. I'm down on my hands. I get down on my hands and knees right now.
Opportunities to do it too.
Oh my goodness! I mean, everyone else in the world is mad at the Celtics team, but the head coach. You'd think that he'd be the first one to be mad at them because he's dealing with them all the time. He probably drills the same thing into their heads. He runs plays for them, and trust me, nobody's more frustrated than Brad Stevens is. I mean, that's one thing I'll say about him is that he truly does care about, puts so much time into trying to figure out how to fix the Celtics team. And I think he's almost at a loss for words sometimes. He kind of says a lot of the same stuff, but rarely, not asking him to throw his players under the bus, but you want to see him pull out a player after a bad shot or bench a guy.
Hold them accountable, right?
Defense. Hold them accountable, absolutely.
I mean, one of the most surprising quotes after a game was after the Hornets game, Saturday night. Terry Rozier takes that awful three-pointer, right? And I give him some credit that he tried to go to the rim for a second, but he's like, wait a minute. I could be scary Terry again.
One more out here.
Let me back up over here and pop this three. And after the game, Brad Stevens just says, oh, yeah, you know what? That's on me. I should have called a timeout. Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Can you imagine
Brad
Popovich
Stevens
saying something
read
like that?
his mind and called a timeout as he watched him sprint to the three-point line. No, don't do it. Timeout. Like absolutely.
I would have reamed him out on site, on the floor. Right. But we don't see that from Brad Stevens.
No.
Here we go, Sunday night, right, against the Spurs. Kyrie Irving, has been struggling a bit.
With the king of mad coaches on the other side.
Right, exactly. Up against Popovich, and he's just like, oh, yeah, well, Kyrie Irving, he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. It's tough.
Weight of the world,
It's not easy. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. I mean, come on, Brad. I need some accountability. Maybe not call out Kyrie Irving, but show me some anger. Show me some fight. Show me some Popovich-like tactics to get his team going. Bill Belichick. Get your Bill Belichick on. And that's all I'm saying about Brad Stevens.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to, I was saying something like this similar earlier in the year where you started to see players getting mad at each other, and I thought it was because Brad's not getting mad enough at them, so he's almost forcing some of these guys to take on that role of like, what the hell are you doing out there? Like, that's not what you're supposed to do. And when a team, I don't know if you've ever played a sport or been on a team or anything like that.
I've actually played basketball, Jimmy. This guy got jokes over here. All right, Needham High School. I played.
Well, I don't even want to know what the record was of that team, but we're going to move on. But when you get yelled at by a teammate, I don't know, I'm sure you've done your fair share of yelling. The team, when you get yelled at by a teammate, it's different than getting yelled at by a coach. You know what I mean? Like, if a coach yells at you, that's their job. Like, sorry, Tom Izzo haters, but coaches actually do yell at their players, whether you like it or not. But when a fellow teammate yells at you, that just sits differently.
It's different. Yeah. We've seen plenty of that throughout the course of the regular season.
That can go into the game, and it can leave like, man, it's like this guy over here, man, like, I don't like this guy. You know what I mean? But it's different.
Kind of like what Jaylen Brown's been going through all year long.
Sure. Yeah. Good
example, right? This segment is powered by 1-in-100. Head over to clnsmedia.com/Celtics raffle where you can enter to win tickets, and your first entry is always absolutely free.
Kemba has Tatum on him.
Down the stretch, try to come in and help as much as possible. We should have probably trapped them a little bit more like every other team does in the league. But we didn't. Torches us every time we play. It's no surprise.
Real quick before we get out of here, Jimmy.
Real quick.
Kyrie Irving, after the Hornets game, sort of had some critical comments to say about Brad Stevens, about the way they defended Kemba Walker, who, of course, had himself a night against the Celtics. What do you think about that? Is there anything to that? Is that just him expressing his frustration? Could there be a possible disagreement that's been going on throughout the course of the season between Kyrie Irving and Brad Stevens? Brad Stevens said he didn't have a problem with it. Well, what did you make of what Kyrie Irving had to say?
I think Kyrie, throughout the year, has thrown little subtle jabs here and there. Not necessarily.
I've been thinking that for months now.
Yeah, not necessarily super pumped with the coaching, but I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously not in that locker room. I don't know what that dynamic is. It doesn't seem. I wouldn't say that's the problem, but I think that's Kyrie's way of saying like, hey, this isn't working so much. Remember Kyrie said he talked to Brad. He helped Brad like on the plane or something like that. I think it's just a little bit just Kyrie being Kyrie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just haven't seen a whole lot of what, Brad Stevens puts us in a great position, or and I'm not trying to like start. Maybe I am a little bit, but I'm just trying to get people thinking about that. How he doesn't necessarily talk a whole lot about Brad Stevens, whereas in Cleveland, we heard him say a whole lot about Ty Lue. I don't know if you remember those years, but he was a big fan of Ty Lue.
Let him do whatever he wanted to do.
Maybe that's why.
I think Kyrie's one of those guys that hasn't really ever been told he's wrong about much. So maybe when he gets coached more by a legitimate coach like Brad Stevens, it might not sit the same way.
Doesn't sit well with him. All right, well, let us know what you think in the comment section. CLNS Media, YouTube, Jimmy Toscano. I am Joseph Pavone. Until next time.